EastEnders confirms another exit story as character says, "Goodbye" to Walford. Jade Massoud is set to wave "goodbye" to Walford in upcoming EastEnders scenes after a dramatic few months. Several weeks ago, Jade revealed that Mum Shabnam was planning on moving to Pakistan and that she planned to go with her. Desperate not to lose his daughter, Dean Wicks began tampering with her medication so that she wouldn't be well enough to travel. After learning what Dean had done, and how he tried to lay the blame on Jean Slater and Harvey Monroe, Stacey Slater planted the weapon that was used to kill Keanu Taylor in his flat, in order to fit him up for the crime. Since then, Dean has been questioned and charged with the murder, much to his horror, and the horror of daughter Jade. When Jade discovered that Dean had been tampering with her medication, she couldn't believe it at first, but when police began to question Jean in relation to Keanu's murder, Jade backed her up. In upcoming scenes, Jade is torn when she receives a letter from Dean requesting that she visit him in prison. The Slaters are totally against the idea and, with Jean's backing, Stacey convinces Jade not to go. Instead, they arrange a leaving party in order to give Jade a nice send-off before her move to Pakistan. At the party, Jade gets talking to Avani Nandra Hart, Aaliyah James, who gives her some food for thought. At the prison, Dean protests his innocence for both tampering with Jade's medication and murdering Keanu, but will he be believed? Don't suffer in silence, help with menopause and menstrual problems is at hand. As her train pulled into the station, Elizabeth McLaughlin was puzzled to find herself in Surrey when she should have been in London. What had gone wrong? Then she realized, not only had she got on the wrong train, it had taken her well over half an hour to notice. And it wasn't the first time that she'd made such a mistake. For about a year I'd had brain fog and some bad mood swings, says Elizabeth of that day in 2021. I'd also started to sometimes feel really hot and be unable to sleep. I thought it was because we were in the middle of the pandemic, we were living in uncertain times, and that was affecting me. But that wasn't the reason. Copywriter Elizabeth, now 46, was experiencing some very common symptoms of the perimenopause without realizing it. I initially reasoned that my brain fog might be because I was getting older and I'd had insomnia in the past, so it was nothing new, she says. But the incident on the train made her realize something was wrong and that she needed help. The brain fog was scaring me, she admits. I didn't feel in control of my life. I'd also have fits of crying. I put it all together and realized it must be hormonal, especially when my periods started to become irregular. I thought I was too young for the menopause, but when I did some research, I found out about the perimenopause. Until then, I hadn't really been aware of it. Finding help. Elizabeth is far from alone. Many women are not aware of the signs and symptoms of a host of menstrual and gynecological conditions, including painful and heavy periods, endometriosis, and the menopause, that can be treated. And these can have a devastating effect on their lives. There are many symptoms related to the menstrual cycle or changes to it that women accept as normal and natural, says GP Dr. Ava Craven. That's despite regularly suffering severe pain, bleeding, and mental health issues. But women shouldn't suffer in silence. Dealing with symptoms early can stop the progression of problems and minimize their effects, so you feel empowered to live life as you choose. Speak to your GP, who will support you. That's what Elizabeth, from Southeast London, decided to do. After about a year of my symptoms gradually getting worse, I booked an appointment with a GP. She was really knowledgeable. She discussed HRT, hormone replacement therapy, as an option and talked me through the different types, the benefits and risks. She ordered blood tests to rule out other problems such as an underactive thyroid, looked into my medical history to assess my breast cancer risk, and covered any other health issues that could be causing those symptoms. I left feeling much better. Before, I'd had the feeling that my life was spinning out of control, but she was telling me something could be done, which gave me a sense of relief. For the next few months, Elizabeth and her GP worked together to find the right mix of HRT. I tried different types of estrogen, says Elizabeth. But because I was still experiencing some problems, including brain fog and mood swings, my GP suggested trying a different combination of HRT. This was the final missing piece of the puzzle. It helped me feel much better, more on the ball and back to my normal self. I feel better than I have done in years, contact your practice. Shazia Janai is equally grateful for her GP's help. Aged 40, she's suffered with endometriosis, where tissue similar to the lining of the womb grows in the wrong place, since she was 14. I'd had very painful, very heavy periods for a number of years, and when I was about 20 my GP said, "Let's get you checked out." A pelvic scan showed no problems, but Shazia, a chief marketing officer from Hertfordshire, returned to her doctor because something wasn't right. Her periods were lasting for nearly a fortnight and were incredibly painful. I'd have my TENS machine, a device that stimulates the nerves to help ease pain, heat patches, hot water bottles, and painkillers. But despite that, the fatigue and being in pain mean that your entire routine can collapse. Eventually Shazia was diagnosed with endometriosis, and has since had 3 operations to combat the chronic problem. I ended up with a great GP who was well versed in understanding endometriosis, she says. One of the things I loved about her was that whenever I'd see her, she was really good at going, "You know your body better than anyone else, so if you're concerned, why don't we investigate?" She suggests asking your GP for an investigation if you suspect anything is wrong. Always think, "I know my body well, these are the things that I'm experiencing, I suspect it is endometriosis," says Shazia. Do you have any of these symptoms? There are several different menstrual and gynecological issues women face throughout their lives that can be helped with medical treatment. Here is what you should be looking for. Heavy or painful periods. Period pain is caused by the womb tightening during a period. While it's often a normal part of the menstrual cycle, it can make it hard to think, talk or move, stop you from sleeping or doing such things as washing, dressing, or going to the bathroom. Equally, heavy periods, where you need to change your pad or tampon every hour or 2 or empty your menstrual cup often, can have a debilitating impact on women's lives. Professor Dame Leslie Reagan, Women's Health Ambassador for England, says, heavy or painful periods can seriously impact women's lives, making learning, working and caring more difficult. They can also be a sign of health conditions that need attention. There is treatment available, so I urge all women to know the signs of a problem period. If your periods prevent you getting on with daily life, please do not hesitate to seek advice. Your local GP practice or Women's Health Hub can direct you to the help you may need. Periods are classed as heavy if you need to use 2 types of sanitary product together, if they last more than 7 days, or if you pass blood clots larger than the size of a 10p coin. You should contact your GP practice if you faint when you have your period, they're negatively affecting your life, or if they become more painful, heavier, or irregular. Endometriosis. This is a long-term condition that can affect women of any age, including teenagers. It often has a hugely debilitating effect on women's lives and can lead to depression. Symptoms include pain in your lower stomach or back, which is usually worse during your period. Period pain that stops you doing your normal activities. Pain during or after sex. Pain when peeing or pooing during your period. Feeling sick, constipation, diarrhea or blood in your pee or poo during your period. Difficulty getting pregnant. Heavy periods. Menopause and perimenopause. Menopause is when a woman's periods stop because of a drop in hormone levels, usually around the age of 45 to 55, although it can happen when you're younger. The perimenopause is the period leading up to this, when a woman may experience the symptoms of menopause but still has her periods. There are many symptoms, but the most common include anxiety, mood swings, brain fog, hot flushes, and irregular periods. They can start years before a woman's periods end and carry on years afterwards, having a huge impact on sufferers' lives. But there are treatments. GP Dr. Tara Shah says, periods and menopause symptoms affect all women differently. Sometimes the impact of these can cause real difficulties in everyday life. There are many options of help that your GP can advise on. Reach out for help if something doesn't feel right.